Hi, I'm Liz Scarf. Welcome to video number 2A in my little rollout series of videos around process work and the Processwork Intensive. So I'm one of the trainers in the Melbourne Processwork Intensive, and I'm a fully qualified diplomate of process work. And in this video, I really wanted to talk to what's in it, what's in the intensive for people in helping professions, because this is one of the two kind of groups of people we're really targeting and that we really think this program will be really helpful for. So when I say helping professionals, I'm talking about like people like counsellors, psychotherapists, psychologists, coaches, facilitators, like people who work with groups, whether that's therapeutically or whether you're working in organisational development or group, like team building type work as well. So I'm just going to fix up this little thing on my video. Okay. So I'm going to go through a couple of the things that I think are like the most exciting things that people will get out of it. And that being said, how do I know what you're going to get out of it? I have got no clue. I know what my intention is and what I plan to deliver, but what you actually learn and take away from it is going to be very much also about you and your learning path and your kind of learning edges at the moment and what it is you're wanting to develop. So that all being said, a couple of the things I think are really exciting is sometimes I've seen people, and this happens a lot when people are self-trained, or not only actually, where people feel like they're using their intuition a lot, that they go, I just felt that there was this thing, or that more needed to happen, or blah, 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 but they can't actually say how they know, or how they came to have that feeling. It's just this kind of amorphous, it was intuition. Now, I'm not saying intuition doesn't necessarily exist, but probably 9 times out of 10, you can actually pin it down to a signal that you saw, but you didn't know you saw that you saw it. And you don't have a framework for understanding or explaining what information you've actually received that gives you a feeling of intuition, or why it is, why the particular feeling you're having is relevant to the client or the group and their own process. So something I think people will probably get out of the intensive is kind of being able to really pin down and say, hey, yeah, I got this feeling, this signal is what I was picking up on when I kind of felt this thing. It's not to say that we don't trust these inner feelings, we totally do, 110%. But being able to say, not just going, oh, I just felt it, but being able to pin down, there was this signal and then that thing happened. Those things are all related, so how those things kind of clustering, and also that our own intuition is also a signal of that process too. So in one sense, it helps us explain our own feelings more, or understand them as part of a whole process, not think that they're just ours. And also sometimes, especially if you're working organisationally, you can't necessarily get away with saying, I just have this intuition that we should blah, 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 blah. You often can't get away with saying that in most corporate settings. Whereas if you can say, you know, there's this signal of this, this and this, and it's making me wonder if there's this, this and this role happening, that goes down a lot better because you're being really grounded in communication signals that are happening in the moment. And so I'm going to leave that one there. There's obviously a lot more to say around that. But another one is that actually from this training, I'm hoping people will come out of it being able to see more. So not just when you're working with a group, being able to take in the content, or an individual as well, the content of what they're saying, the story, but being able to see another level down, being able to see the different kind of incongruent signals that don't go along with the main sort of identity or the intended communication, and then even being able to see a level down below that. So these are different, what we call different levels of or capacities for awareness or perception. So it's actually training your own capacity to see, not just with your eyes there, but to notice different kinds of communication signals in a field. So you'll get more information that you know you're getting. Like, we're getting a lot of information all the time. We don't necessarily know we're getting it. We can't understand it. We can't discern it. We can't work out how it clusters and groups. And I'm hoping that that's something people will come away with, that they can see more information. It doesn't necessarily mean we interpret it, because we're not an interpretive, process work is not an interpretive model. But when you have more information, when you're working with someone, it helps you kind of help them join the dots, going, yeah, well, there was this thing too over there as well, and that one, and I wonder how they're related, and all of a sudden, you know, well, everything falls into place somehow. So I'm thinking that's something that people will get and will be really useful in helping professions. It helps you help your clients make more sense of things that seem disparate in their experiences. Another thing is that I'm hoping it's going to help people be less confused about you as a practitioner and whatever it is you do, be less confused about some of the things that are presenting or the issues that your clients or your groups have, because you'll understand more about a structural framework around how groups and clients present, and then also the things that are kind of boiling away in the back that need to kind of come out. Because often if we don't have much of a framework or understanding of those two kind of conflicting aspects of a group or an experience, it's just very confusing and it feels a little messy. Whereas process work kind of can help you lay out, okay, this goes here, here, and here, and these experiences are here, here, and here. This is how you're going to be able to work with them. This is how to get from here to there. It just helps kind of make things make more sense and have a lot more clarity. And I think as a practitioner, it is like so relaxing to kind of feel like, okay, I've got a bit of a sense of the picture, and it's partly what we call pattern awareness. So, you might be really good at noticing lots of little signals, but if you don't know where they belong in the continuum of what's more or less known or supported in a group or in a client, or what level of kind of awareness they're at, or what kind of channel of expression they're happening, if you don't have any of these structural sort of parts of the pattern, it can be very difficult. You can bark up the wrong tree a lot, following the wrong signals. All signals are useful, but some are well more useful than others, and so it can make it less confusing and can actually make your work more efficient. And clients much more satisfied as well, because they're not spending a lot of time unfolding signals that aren't really that rich for their experience. And that's also, I guess, something you'll learn a little bit too in the program, is how to actually unfold and work with these signals, depending on the context you're in. And that's another thing that I think will be fabulous about this program, is that we'll really be looking at where does process work get applied, and how does it get applied differently, say, between therapy and coaching and facilitating. These are very, very different helping professions, of very different roles, and the role between the practitioner and the client are very, very different in these, and it's easy to cross the line if you don't understand what belongs in each kind of profession or each role. So while we'll look at how to unfold signals, we'll also look at what kind of work can you do in therapy and it still be therapy and you still be honouring a therapeutic contract. What kind of work can you do as a coach that honours your coaching contract, honours your professional boundaries about what you're trained to actually do? And as a facilitator, what kind of work can you and can't you do publicly with people in groups, especially organisational groups, that you can't do in the therapeutic? You can do them in a therapeutic setting, you can't do them there. That there's quite a few issues there around how do we protect individuals within groups that we're working in, because they can't be exposed to the same level of vulnerability and work that you might do in individual therapy. So we look at that kind of ethical practice and role responsibilities and boundaries, so that when you're working as a facilitator, you don't start working as a therapist, or when you're working as a coach, you don't start working as a therapist. And as a therapist, what happens if your client doesn't need therapy anymore, they need coaching? How do you recognise these kind of differences? So we're going to be exploring that too, and it's such a fabulous thing. I've learned so much about each of those individual parts by understanding the differences and stuff. I find that an exciting topic. Another thing is actually about the nature of the relationship you have with your clients, whether it's as a therapist, coach, or a facilitator, but understanding the nuances and depth of what that relationship really means, what your role really is in your work. And that's partly defined by what is the profession, but it's also partly defined by what you are bringing and who it is you want to work with, and what kind of issues or struggles or problems do you want to kind of support people with. So it's not just here's what the role is, but it's also how do you find that in yourself too? What is your role? What is your calling in any kind of context that you go to work in, and how can you bring that out congruently and authentically in your work? Also, in that, we'll kind of, one of the fabulous things I love about process work is its understanding of the entanglement and the enmeshment between client and practitioner. Again, irrelevant of the context. In therapy language, this comes on a history of ideas like transference and countertransference. But process work takes it just a whole nother level with this idea of entanglement, where we draw from quantum physics there, but also this notion of dreaming up, that the things that we experience, that we think are in response to a client, they're the clients, they belong to the client, they belong to the client's process, and how do we find ways to bring that in? Like I notice sometimes with clients, I'll feel like, they're talking about something that's going on with this, thinking, God, that's so frustrating. I feel really frustrated. They're not looking like they're frustrated. Now, instead of me thinking, oh, I'm just really impatient, I'm frustrated, I go, are they actually marginalising their own frustration? Sometimes I go, wow, that sounds, do you ever feel frustrated by this? Then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, I do actually, and blah, so it's a different way. And there's a lot more to it. That kind of is a simple example of what it looks like, but there's a lot more to our relationship with our clients than we tend to understand. So that's something I'm really excited about bringing into this intensive, and that I think will be particularly useful for people in helping professions. Now, the last one I wanted to cover off was about power. Process work draws on and builds a lot around sociological and psychological ideas of power and rank, and I think this is just such a crucial issue and thing to have very deep awareness of and understanding of as a helping professional, because we're in a position of power and authority relative to our clients, and we also have a massive duty of care to do no harm, and one of the biggest ways we do harm is by misusing our power and rank relative to our clients. So the more you understand what is power and rank, where does it come from, what characteristics give it to you, what does it look like, how do you express it, how do you befriend it, more than anything, one of the biggest reasons or ways in which we'll misuse power and then do damage is because we're against it in ourselves. We're not friendly enough to our own power, we haven't picked up enough of it, we're also not fluid enough between places where we have a lot of rank in our life and places or experiences in the past particularly where we have very low rank. So process work is a lot around how do we develop a fluidity where we can be relatively comfortable in high rank moments and low rank moments, and seriously, second to second. Sometimes I've found myself really trying to notice, maybe in a meeting or something, where I'm sort of cycling through different high and low rank positions, and it can happen so quickly. So again, this comes back to a lot of our personal development work. So this was also a big emphasis in the program, is the more you work on your own relationship to power in yourself and with others as well, the more able you're going to be helpful to serve clients in a very authentic and congruent way that can really follow them. I'm just thinking one example I've seen a little before is therapists going, oh no, this, right in the very early stages, just even the first contact from a client might have a lot of power signals where the client's trying to dictate a whole range of things, or be just very direct and assertive, and therapists go, oh, it's a power trip already, they're already going to try and get into a power battle with me, I won't take them on as a client. And I think, wow, I'll take them on as a client. That's what people come to therapy a lot for, is their relationship with power is stagnated or is really, really difficult. So I think we get intimidated by power struggles because we haven't done enough work on ourselves around power. We don't sort of feel free enough to go, yeah, come bring your power struggle in here. I can help you with that. Because I'm not going to get in a power struggle with you. But I can build enough rapport and enough support for your unfolding of your power to come out more consciously. Because a power struggle happens unconsciously, yeah? So I think that's a really kind of exciting thing, is to help us get more confident when we encounter power struggles, which we're constantly encountering them as helping professionals, even when most people are not conscious that that's what they're coming to get help with. And it's also one of the bigger issues that groups and organisations end up contracting facilitators for, is because they're having power struggles within their organisation or their team. And it might look like it's coming out in one particular individual who's a right pain in the butt, but actually they're kind of channeling a process, or the manifestation or the symptom of a process for the whole space around how do we share, use, build, acknowledge power and vulnerability as well. So I'm very excited about that part of the program. So they're just a few things that I think helping professionals could really get out of this program. Part 2B is going to be what people who are not in helping professions but are just really interested in personal growth, what they can get out of as well, because that's the other kind of group we really think that this program is going to be super useful for. And I'm supposed to drop in a promo word, I forgot, and it's Oscar the Grouch, going along with the Sesame Street theme. So Oscar the Grouch for this video. And the promo words, if you haven't caught on or seen the thing, is that you can get the early bird rate just by quoting one of those. Okay, maybe see you in the next video. Bye.